Imagine being paralyzed by fear over something as mundane as a housefly. This is the reality for individuals with phobias. A phobia is not just your typical fear. It's an excessive, irrational dread of a specific object, situation, or activity. It's the kind of fear that doesn't just make your heart race a little faster, but rather, it stops you in your tracks, it freezes you, it takes over your life. Think about something you find a bit scary, like perhaps heights. Now imagine that fear amplified 100-fold, to the point where even the thought of climbing a small stepladder sends you into a panic. That's the intensity of a phobia. For some, it could be as common as arachnophobia, the fear of spiders, or as obscure as pteronophobia, the fear of being tickled by feathers. It's an irrational response, yes, but for those affected, the fear is very real and often uncontrollable. While phobias can be debilitating, understanding them is the first step towards overcoming them. Psychologists and those who have battled their phobias lend us their insights into this complex issue. Diving into the minds of those who have wrestled with phobias, we hear tales of courage and resilience. Tales of individuals who, despite feeling an irrational fear, stood their ground and faced the unknown. On the other side of the coin, we have the psychologists. They lend us their professional perspective, explaining how our brains may sometimes wire themselves into fear. They explain that phobias are not just a fear, but a psychological response. A response that can be as real and as potent as any physical threat. We learn from these voices of experience that phobias aren't a sign of weakness, but rather a testament to the power of the human mind and its capacity to protect us from perceived danger. As we have heard, overcoming a phobia is not just about facing your fear, it's about understanding it. Phobias are as diverse as the individuals they afflict. They fall into different categories based on what triggers them. It's like a labyrinth, where every corner unveils a different fear. But don't worry, we're here to navigate this landscape together. Let's start with specific phobias, the most common type. These are intense, irrational fears of specific things or situations. Picture someone with arachnophobia, a fear of spiders, or acrophobia, the fear of heights. Even the mere thought of the feared object or situation can send shivers down their spine. But these fears are not limited to creatures or heights. They can extend to anything from buttons to clowns, showcasing the vast spectrum of specific phobias. Next, we have social phobias, also known as social anxiety disorder. This is not just about feeling a little nervous before a presentation. It's a profound fear of social situations where one might be judged or scrutinized. Imagine the fear that grips you when you're about to step onto a stage. Now imagine feeling that every single time you interact with others. That's social phobia. Lastly, there's agoraphobia, a complex phobia. It's often misunderstood as a fear of open spaces, but it's much more. It's a fear of being in situations where escape could be difficult or help might not be available. This could include crowded places, public transport, or even being alone at home. It's like being trapped in an invisible cage where the bars are made of fear. As we traverse this landscape of phobias, it's important to remember that these are not just quirks or eccentricities. They are serious conditions that can severely impact a person's life, but they are also not unbeatable monsters. They are puzzles waiting to be solved. Understanding the types of phobias is essential in demystifying these fears and developing effective treatment strategies. After all, you can't navigate a landscape without first understanding its terrain. While phobias can seem insurmountable, there are treatment options available that can help individuals regain control of their lives. Now let's delve into some of these treatment options and their effectiveness. One of the most common and effective treatments for phobias is cognitive behavioral therapy, often abbreviated as CBT. It focuses on identifying, understanding, and changing thinking and behavior patterns. In relation to phobias, CBT aims to change the thought distortions and improve responses to fear-inducing situations. This therapy helps individuals to develop new skills to cope with and overcome their fears. Another widely used treatment is exposure therapy. As the name suggests, this therapy involves exposing the individual to the object or situation they fear in a controlled and safe environment. For instance, if someone has a fear of heights, they might be gradually exposed to different levels of height until the fear becomes manageable. The goal here is to desensitize the individual to the fear trigger and teach them strategies to cope when facing it. In some cases, medication may be used alongside these therapies. Antidepressants or anti-anxiety medications can help reduce the physical symptoms of a phobia. However, it's important to note that medication isn't a cure. It should be used as part of a comprehensive treatment plan, under the guidance of a healthcare professional. Now, while these treatments can be effective, they're not one size fits all. What works for one person may not work for another, and that's okay. It's crucial to work with a healthcare professional to develop a treatment plan that suits your unique needs. Also, remember that seeking help is not a sign of weakness, but strength. It takes courage to face your fears and seek help, and that's something to be proud of. While the journey to overcoming a phobia can be challenging, remember that help is available and recovery is possible. You're not alone in this journey, and with the right support, you can regain control over your fears and live a fulfilling life.